All right, hello everyone. I'm Zachary Snader. I'm in collegiate operations at a company called Play Versus. We do things in academic esports. That's the very, very short version of it. The short version of this talk is esports is the only sport. I'm sure that's a thing you've heard on Twitter lately. Esports, there's a lot of myths and a lot of truths, and we're going to go through them starting right now. The first one is that this slide does indeed make me want to die because these stock photos, you can tell that they are high resolution and yet they are still so outdated. There's a lot of tropes in here, but gamers are no longer relegated to being nerds and outcasts of the world. And over 30% of people on Earth consider themselves as gamers, playing at least one time a month. Further, games, not quite the same thing as esports. While esports are definitely a segment of the gaming industry, esports are more focused on competitive gaming, while gaming as a whole can take into account the entire scope of the games industry. Additionally, esports have been around for over 20 years. That's true. While you might have heard esports as a very new thing lately, especially with sports not really existing anymore, esports have been around in a professional capacity since at least 2000 when we had OGN, which was a South Korean channel focused on game broadcasting, primarily StarCraft. Additionally, esports as an industry is collectively valued at over $1 billion. This is a drop in the bucket compared to the $160 billion plus market that is gaming, but esports is continuing to grow, and some of the biggest Fortune 500 companies are invested into the space. Additionally, even if you might not have heard about esports yet, there is no shortage of drama in esports. Everything from contract disputes and players and streamers sleeping with one another to all sorts of rivalries and player drama. And really, just Google esports drama, you'll find plenty there. Additionally, there are franchise price tags in esports leagues that are worth north of $40 million. In the League of Legends leagues alone, those franchises are worth over $20 million. In the Overwatch League, those are worth over $40 million and have prolific investors such as Steve Aoki, Gary Vaynerchuk, Rick Fox, and Scooter Braun. Also, some of the organizations here, you might have never seen these logos, but collectively they are worth over $1 billion. That's FaZe Clan, Team Liquid, TSM, and Cloud9. They have revenue streams coming in from everything like sponsorships and content deals to the earnings they get from actual games. This guy, I'm sure you've seen his face and his fancy blue hair. It is not true that he's worth $10 million because he's actually worth over $30 million. At least that's what the esports or celebrity earnings and all that stuff says. He started out as a professional player and since then has netted most of his earnings from his streaming career and sponsorship deals. Additionally, esports events are no longer just a few people hanging out in an auditorium playing games. They are full-blown multi-million-dollar productions that have everything from digital AR backgrounds to full production crews, massive trophies, and massive prizes on the line. And the potential for esports production is uncapped. Speaking of esports, kind of thriving in the time of COVID-19. In-person productions are a huge component of why this industry has been successful and why it's grown. But we have transitioned relatively well. Unfortunately, it has cut into revenues. MTG, one of the largest companies in this space, is predicting a 35 to 45% drop in the first half of this year. Really quick, fighting games are the esports? Maybe. The FGC or fighting games community considers themselves a separate thing by and large, but it's starting to become argued that maybe they are in fact esports. And transitioning away from that, professional players, they can't necessarily jump easily from one game to another. So you can't take a fighting game player and just throw them into League of Legends and expect that they're going to do well. That's like going into the NBA and saying that you're going to become a professional football player tomorrow. Few players have succeeded in multiple titles as professionals. Also, if you see anyone with esports consultants or all things esports or anything like this in their LinkedIn bio, it means they don't know anything at all and they are objectively terrible people. Don't trust them. You don't need to talk to them. Just don't even worry about that. Games are the new social networks. So I'm sure you've heard every VC talk about the metaverse and everything's all connected. Games have been social networks for decades now. It's just that now there's money coming into the space. VCs can assign the term that they want in order to justify their investments. But this is why esports are successful. This is why games are successful. Like-minded people coming together. Working in esports as well is becoming a bona fide career path. Speaking to the VC money, there's just a lot of infrastructure in the space to work in esports as a professional. Check out Hitmarker if you have never heard of it, and you will see all kinds of esports jobs and listings and some actual career paths. Also, esports is not a cash grab. Despite all the hype and buzz around it, this is not a short-term deal. Getting into esports and trying to get a return on an investment, either with your time or your money, is a long-term play. And really, only the top-tier organizations are actually generating profit. Esports as well are blending into academics, and that's going to be around for a very long time. Competitive esports leagues are available at almost every educational level in the United States, from K through 12 all the way through college. And other countries with more developed ecosystems, like South Korea and China, have similar programs. You can even get esports focused degrees. Yes, a bachelor's and in some cases, even a master's degree. Educational institutions of all kinds are working on building their own curriculum or implementing curriculum that they have already designed. There's been gaming degrees for years, and esports degrees are the next wave of that. And as you can tell, esports, it's just the beginning despite 20 plus years of history. We have esports hotels, esports arenas, and soon we're going to have cities and regions that are dedicated to having esports as a main component of tourism and culture. Yeah, and that is everything I have to speak about in 20 seconds or less per slide. Oh my God, where does the time go? Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.